Hey everybody, and welcome back to Watch Trading Academy. And today we are speaking with yet two members that have now reached the 100K club. So Ruben is with us today, and Bo, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
$100,000 in profit in a rolling 12 months. I mean, that's a pretty impressive number, but as I always say, it's the starting groundwork for what is to come, right? Most people that have hit 100 go to 250 and 500 within the next 12 months. So it's pretty exciting to know that you guys are on a trajectory to make that kind of money. So today we are going to not just try to inspire people, but share a little bit about how you guys did it, why you do it, and what are some tips people can take back so that they can also be successful doing this. So if you want to start, maybe you can start, Bo. Give us a little bit of background about what were you doing before watches, if you're still doing it, etc.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Ruben.
Sure. Yeah, so for me, I've been active duty Air Force. I'm still active duty. I joined the military back in 2017, right after high school, and I've been in about 7 years. I'm active until January, but I'll be getting out to do watches full time. And I started trading about November of 2022 during like the Black Friday thing that the Watch Trading Academy does. And just started with $2,000, kept kind of building it up and reinvesting my money from the Air Force into it. And here we are now.
So that's pretty incredible. I just have a quick question before we go to Ruben. What, from the Air Force you were trading? Like you're actually like active? Like
I'm still active duty.
Yeah, so like how does that work?
Very carefully. So when I was on shift, I worked. I'm an intelligence analyst for the Air Force, and we had like Facebook available on our Nipper computers, and I hope nobody in my chain of command sees this because they'll call me and yell at me. But like, I would be on like my Nipper computer and kind of just researching watches, learning about different models, connecting with clients on Facebook and things like that, using my eBay to list watches. Both on like if I had a break at work and I wasn't doing my actual job, and then when I was home, I would do it. Wow, so whenever I had a little bit of free time, I would plug away.
Like in between, just gonna make it work.
Because I knew I was going to be getting out, so I wanted to make this really
ahead
push
of time,
to 2 years to make it work, and I'm grateful to be here where I am now.
Wow, amazing. How about you, Ruben?
So I for kind of like similar. He has Air Force. I have airline under my name, so I'm an airline pilot for United Airlines. I'm also an instructor and evaluator on the Boeing 737. So I work out of the United Airlines Training Center in Denver, and I've been doing that for about 10 years. And my wife and I had been looking for a long time to find something to do on the side, like to get our entrepreneurial spirits going. And we tried a lot of different things, like retail arbitrage. We tried the whole Amazon FBA, and then eventually stumbled upon you guys with ECH, and then eventually WTA. And decided to, give it a shot and just not fear it. I got all the education, and then we just established that the company, the institution behind it, and there wasn't really a magic formula. We just went for it, and from that point on, it just grew.
So it's interesting because you both are somewhat related to Air something.
Yeah.
The thing that I think is just he's doing it like kind of from his computer, like on the side, trying to figure it out. What got you to buy into watches specifically early? Like, because there's always skepticism, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, why this? Why not something else? Why not crypto? Why not that?
Yeah.
Like everybody can make money at something.
Sure.
What was it about watches that made you think this is real? I'm going to get over to skepticism and just do this like right away. Because it seems like you were in exotic car hacks and you kind of understand car things. So what was it about watches?
So it was actually just the method that you teach behind, I guess, the whole mindset aspect of how to truly look at things differently, right? So at the end of the day, if you really think about it, everyone has an objection whenever they're going to start doing something new that they don't know anything about. And that first objection is your own personal internal fear. And for that reason, if you have some sort of a system that will really, really focus on teaching you the proper mindset in order to change the way that you look at consumerism, the way that you look at anything that has to do with, the traditional way that people think, and you have that spark that makes you change the way you look at the world, and then you go from there, it opens up unlimited possibilities. And if you can find a little place there to kind of hang out for a little bit and then achieve at least some sort of proof of concept with everything that comes, which is what you teach so gracefully in your courses. If you find the right person that's willing to take the step and not fear it, you're going to be able to achieve success. I started with ECH, so I was just online looking for a McLaren. And while I was doing that, all of your ads popped up. And
Oh, so look at that. Facebook
yeah.
ads seem to work.
But my first skepticism was, the whole idea of like, okay, so what is exotic car hacks, and why are they saying that I can own an exotic vehicle for $500 a month? That is the part that I needed to find out a little bit more about. It's like, okay, this has to come from somewhere. So I got into ECH1 and eventually got into ECH2 because I liked what I heard in ECH1. And then I eventually, long story short, I hacked a 2020 McLaren 600 LT Spider in Lotus Blue. Was going to do a 570S in the beginning, but decided to go all out for the 600 LT. And it was listed at the dealership for $256,000.
I remember this case. It's the one you saved like
Yeah.
$30,000.
Yeah,
right?
so $256,000 originally, and one of the part about the courses that it teaches you is that pictures, right? Like if somebody takes really crappy photos of a watch or really crappy photos of a car, it may not attract as many people. So it's like you can find a diamond in the rough that way.
It's an opportunity.
It's
to
an
basically
opportunity.
Go after what people can
Yeah.
see, right?
Exactly. So I ended up buying it for $216,950. And when I tell my friends that, and again, this is something that the course will eventually get you to, but nobody believes me when I tell them that I only pay $1,900 a month for the car, which is just a little. It's basically, I mean, if you look at the BMW X3 that we have in the garage, the monthly payment on that one is maybe half of that. So, I mean, for just a little bit more, you now have an exotic vehicle that they only have. I think they only made 300.
So they
versions
gave
of
you
that
the
car.
entry point into like believing that something was real, and then it
Yeah.
ended up moving you to watches. But what about you, Bo? Like, I'm just curious. Like, out of all the things you could have been doing outside of watches, day trading, something that can physically happen on a computer, without shipping anything.
Yeah.
Why watches? Meaning, why was this attractive to you?
Yeah. I actually tried the options trading thing.
Okay, did it work?
I was shitty at it.
I mean,
I sucked at it.
it's like Charles is going
Bro,
up.
yeah, and it wasn't
not gonna
real.
lie, I
You know
did
what I
the
mean? I
same
didn't like
thing,
it. Yeah, when I started, I was always collecting like little crappy watches. I had like a Seiko that looked like a Rolex Submariner, so I thought I was like, this
looks
is
good, yeah.
sick, you know. And I think they're still cool, right? But like, I saw the ad come up and I just read about it, and like I seen that there was folks that were actually doing this, making some money, and I was like, I was like a very why not me type of person. You know, if I see some folks doing something, I'm always just like, I mean, they're a person, I'm a person. Like, what are they? They just know something I don't know, right? So let me invest in myself, try and get educated and make it work, you know. And then with a lot of reps, it turned out to be like nothing crazy in the beginning, like maybe make $300, $400 on a watch, but it still was significant to me because I was like, dude, I'm like, you're making some money, you know. I just knew that I wanted to get out of the military, and I felt like I had a little bit more for my life than just, you know, work. A lot of things in the military is people will just work for 20 years to get like a good pension.
Right.
But they're good pensions, like $2,500 a month for like 20 years of, because I'm enlisted, I'm not an officer in the
Your
military.
minimum like safety survivorship, which doesn't pay you anything.
That's what I mean. And it was like, I knew I wanted to have a little bit bigger of a life, at least in like the financial sense.
It's like a 401k scam, basically.
Basically,
You know, like
yeah.
you just have a
It's funny
401k,
because I actually
you feel-
used my 401k to buy more watches. I
Okay,
kind of
cool.
nuked that whole thing and just invested in the business with it.
Good. So
Yeah.
you did it in 18 months.
Yes.
You did it in 6 months, roughly. A little bit
Yeah,
under. Okay.
I wanted to, like, I just wanted to find a way to pay for the McLaren.
I understand. So you
Yeah.
used the watches to create income, so you
Yeah.
paid for the payments. So basically, the car's double time free.
Yeah, because that was literally my entire goal in the beginning, just to make $3,000 on the side in watches. And I was like, wow, if I can do that, I would be able to pay for the whole car. And everything that the course teaches you has now come full circle from both sides.
Which is how it should be. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Ideally, right?
Yeah.
But hold on, you did it in 18 months.
Yeah.
So, but to be here, you've had to do it in 12 months, meaning for the results. So
Yes.
what happened between month 1 and month 6? Why was it so much
I think I
slower?
just kept getting better. I don't know. I started with $2,000.
Okay.
And then my first watch, I bought one that the course didn't recommend. You know, I tried to do my own thing. Like
Oh,
a lot
so
of
you
folks
tried to
do.
go away
No,
from
it wasn't.
that
It was the
teacher,
right
okay.
watch in the. It was the right watch, but it didn't have the box or the
You had
papers.
to be
You know,
that
so I
guy.
lost. I know I was that guy, but like I learned quick. Maybe that's what happened from month 1 to month 6. I just made a lot of mistakes and tried to learn as quickly as I could. You know, so I started with my $2,000 and then just kept reinvesting my money from my paycheck that wasn't spent on like living life, and just obviously the profits getting reinvested too.
And how much did you start with?
I started with 5,000.
Okay, so you started with 5,000, you started with 2,000. Let's talk about your very first watch that you bought.
God.
So
You're gonna make fun of me.
that's why I'm asking. So
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah.
make fun of me. So what was your first watch, Ruben, that you bought?
No, his is worse than mine, actually. He goes first.
It was a Breitling for Bentley,
Okay.
49 millimeter.
Oh, the huge ones.
Yeah, the
That
huge
look
ound
like a weapon on your wrist.
the
right?
one
Yeah.
that it
block
literally
bullets
looks
for
like Princess Leia is about to come out of the
Yeah, yeah.
hologram. It's so big. I actually have a photo of.
Why did you buy that? That's not even on the list for anything.
Because I had only seen like WTA Part 1, and it was Breitling, and it was connected to pilots, and I thought that I was going to be able to sell it, and it was skeletonized, and it had like a $13,000 MSRP, and I got it like very close to BCV. So I thought that like it was a sure, like I was
home
going to
run,
make
yeah,
like
yeah.
a home run, $5,000, no problem. And it's like, you learn so much from that, because I think everybody wants to just like accelerate themselves prematurely. And that I was one of them. So I made a lot of mistakes with that watch, but I also learned a lot. So yeah, that was my first one. It took me like almost
How
40.
much did you make or lose on the first watch?
I have about 146 transactions now. I have only lost money on one.
Is that one?
No.
How much did you make on that one?
I made $520
On that one, the first one.
on that one. It just took me a long time to.
But you
to sell
paid
it.
what for it? $5,000? Or what did you pay?
No, I paid $3,800.
She still made more than 10%.
It's happy.
Yeah.
Well, so it wasn't a
It's a happy story, man.
No,
It's not that bad. I mean,
it's
how
not.
long
It's
did it
not.
take you to make 10%?
I think like 45 days.
Okay, so
Yeah.
only 10% in 45 days. You
Yeah,
gotta
so
go
you
make
do
a
that in a
price
year.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess I
People don't
just.
even do that.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I lost money on mine.
Yeah.
I
Alright,
bought
let's
the-
talk about your first watch.
Mine was like the those old Omega Seamasters
Oh, yeah,
from like
yeah.
the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's a
right?
really old one, the ugly ones. Yeah.
Yeah, ugly watch. Like I think it was the right watch, I guess, at the time, but just didn't have the box of papers. You know, I bought like Naked Watch, so it is what it is. I lost I think $370 on it.
Okay, so
So-
you lost roughly a little bit more than 10%.
Yeah, it was like 17, I think.
How was that feeling of losing money on your first watch and not giving up? You know, because most
Yeah.
people would say,
Yeah, yeah.
"Well, this was a scam. It didn't work out." You know,
Sure.
like I'm
Yeah.
not making any money here.
No, I think you had to look. I had to look a little inward with that at first because I was
You
pissed.
always
I was
have to
pissed
look
off for.
inwards.
Yeah, I was pissed off for a second. I was like, "This sucks. Like, what the hell?" You know. And then I was like, "Wait, surely, if folks are making this like that much money in the group, and I've actually talked to those folks, I know they're real people.
Right.
You know,
they're
like,
not like some fake.
yeah, like I got on the
testimonial
phone with
somewhere,
these
like, yeah.
dudes. You know, it's like so surely I did something wrong. So then it just took me to like re-go through everything, all the educational stuff, and realize like, hey, dickhead, you bought the.
You know,
no
it's
box
actually
of
funny.
papers.
You
Yeah.
brought that up about people in the group. You know, I go through great lengths to make sure we have real testimonials.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I could make a lot more money if I let people just basically tell me. Like, I don't know if you ever remember, there's this place called ClickFunnels, you know, on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically people make their own websites and stuff, and they sell products. And they have this thing called the 2 Coma Club, whatever. It's like when you make $100,000 or whatever. And their verification process is basically like self-policed. It's like, oh, I made $1 million. And they're like, okay, cool, here's a plaque.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why wouldn't someone want to act bigger than they are so that
Yep.
they make more money
course.
from the success
Yeah.
breed success, right? So people were like, what is you doing? I want to know.
Yep.
So I always thought, I was like, we're not going to build a community like that. If someone says they made something, we're going to verify it.
Yeah.
And even when people come to me and they're like, I made $250,000, I'm like, cool. And they're like, I only have one of your entry level courses. I'm like, well, then how'd you do it? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't teach you that. Oh no, I was in the business for like 5 years before you. I don't use that testimonial, even though it would benefit me to be
Sure.
like, this guy made this much money. Like, here's another guy. I'm just like, you can't have an award. And they're
Yeah.
like, but I did it. I'm like, but you didn't do it through our system, even though you did it
Yeah.
while you were part of our group. Doesn't
Yep.
mean that we thought you had to do this. And then I discard that testimonial, and they get pretty upset because they're like, well, I wanted to clap, but I'm like, but I can't take credit for something I didn't do. But a lot of times people don't realize, looking outside in, that a lot of the stuff we do is very, very like verified.
Yeah.
And we're very big on not giving people more credit than they get. Like,
Yep.
you do what you do, you get the credit. You don't do it, you
Yep.
keep doing it until you get the credit, you know,
Yeah.
the right way. So you guys first watches, you lost some money, you made some money on a really large watch that, you know, very large physically. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what did you learn that enabled you to, because you only had $5,000, he had $2,000, so it's not like a huge disparity. Anyone can start with $1,500. It's not like you had $20,000, so you had a lot more watches, and it's like twice 2 watches. So would you say that $5,000 is the reason you did it twice as fast as you did? Or what was the reason why you were able to do it in 6 months versus it took him a full 12?
Honestly, I just think I have a very addictive personality, And
To
thanks
what
to
part,
that,
though? This is really important. Like, what was it that you did that not skyrockets? I think 6 months is fast. It's not the fastest, but it's definitely fast. What was it that you did that gave you a competitive advantage? You talked to a lot of people in the group. So
Yeah.
what was it that you did that made you go faster through this? Some people figured out like Instagram better. Some people figured out, hey, I'm going to sell to my golf club and there's a ton of buyers. You know, like what is it about you that made you be able to get?
yeah. So when I actually had the proof of concept by selling my first watch, which was not the Breitling, it was like a $800 Super Ocean, and I saw that I was able to actually do it. I just started just going all out. Like I would go to the group and I would be present. I would engage everyone, and I really wanted to kind of get as many watch deals done as possible. So when I would, let's say, buy a watch from somebody, and then or then sell it to somebody in the group inside the buy sell trade group, I would ask them for, hey, can you write a little blurb about your experience with me if you liked it, and then that would eventually get my name out there. And little by little, by just engaging people, talking to people, just writing comments, and being part of the group, you organically start getting known by more and more and more people because you are present. Mm-hmm. And that eventually organically allowed me to do more and more sales and establish more of a network.
You know what's funny about that is I told this to some of the other members that were like 500K and 250. I was like, actually participating in the group, like just participating, letting people know who you are, is one of the number one common trait that all 250 and 500K club members have. Like other people come in and they go, I'm going to sell to the group. And the ones that do the best are usually like, I'm just participating, I'm helping people, I post case studies, I talk to people, I respond to their threads, you know, I'm just there and I'm not like trying to sell them anything. Yeah. And then suddenly they go, well, I've had so much accelerated success because people knew my name and they weren't afraid to do business with me, and other people spoke in different groups, and you know, like, and it just like worked. And that's the one thing every single person that's like 250 is in common. Their name is very, very known in the group without having sold something. You know, it's just like you know, someone knows who they are, what they do, or you'll ask someone like, who's that guy? They'll be like, oh, the real estate guy, or hey, the Air Force guy. You know, like someone's like, I know that guy. You know?
Yeah.
What about you? What was the biggest learning experience that allowed you to go to from this isn't working for 6 months, I'm losing $300 to okay, I'm gonna make this?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the answer to that while he was talking. I think what it was with like limited capital was taking as much advantage as I could of each watch that I had in inventory. So on like the full spectrum of that, like once I got the watch in, I would actually wear it and like enjoy it, see how it felt on my wrist, like mess with the bracelet and actually like
experience
go through all the functions. Experience the thing that I'm explaining to someone why they should buy from me, right? I would like look up the model online, like learn about it a little bit, all while I was still investing in the education, like learning through the course, right? But then I would really like try and nail down the client experience, like whoever like purchased it from me, because I feel like you've experienced it. You obviously buy a lot of watches too. Like you buy a watch from somebody, maybe they're a dealer or whatever, and it's just, they throw the watch in the box, close it, FedEx it, and send it to you, and you get it. The watch is like upside down. It just looks like crap, you know. So I always tried to like give somebody the most awesome experience they could have, like buying from me. Like my, I guess thing I always say in my head is like I want to ruin you buying watches from like anybody else. You know, like I want it to become like the best person to buy from and build that like book of business that way. Whether it was like if you buy from me as like a business to business, like as a dealer or as like a client, it's always the same kind of experience that I give, like handwritten note, business card, everything's sealed up real nice, you know. And with that too, I would also post the watches on my Instagram, try and build a social media, and like just use the watch as much as I could instead of just buying it, selling it, buying it, selling it. If that makes sense.
Okay, no, it does. And I think that's interesting because from the beginning you took what we call a retail approach. Like you assumed anyone was buying from you wanted to enjoy the watch and not just selling to resellers. Like, and that's a big deal because I always tell people like even resellers are watch buyers. You know, like they're watch owners, they wear watches. Like even as a person myself that like sells watches, I like watches. It's not like I'm forced to like sell a watch.
Of course,
I would wear a watch anyways. I would pay $100,000 for a watch even if I didn't make any money. Like I would have done this. So I think a lot of times we take that for granted, and it's good to see that this was one of the reasons that it kind of propelled you to like, I'm going to take this seriously and give people a better experience. So looking back today, you're kind of like, hey, I'm in this position. I made $100,000. You are now that testimonial. You are looking at other people doing it, right? Like you're looking at the group and you're like, these other people are making all this money. Why can't I? Well, now you can be that person.
No, totally.
So what advice do you have for people who right now are looking at your testimonial going like, well, that guy's making money. What can I do? What should they take back from your experience today?
Yeah. I mean, if I can give any advice to somebody, it would just be, if you see other people doing something that you would like to do, just know that it's possible, man. Like, I'm an E5 in the Air Force. You could look up my pay charts online right now. I make like $5,000 a month net. It's shit. Like, it sucks, you know? So I'm nobody special. I've never ran a business before or did anything like this. So if you have that kind of spark inside yourself and you see a little bit more out of your life than maybe the job you have or whatever you're doing right now, just know that's possible, man. Like, this community is absolutely real. Like, everything that we're talking about, like engaging with people in the community and just kind of having goodwill and taking care of the people that you buy and sell from, or buy from and sell to. Just believe in yourself a little bit.
The reason why him and I are sitting in the same couch right now is because, like we were talking before about community.
Yeah.
He answered a comment to a question that I had about an Avitimer, and then long story short, we ended up realizing that we were living 4 doors apart
He was
from
like my
each
neighbor
other.
when I lived in Denver. Yeah.
And he actually Bo was the one that kind of taught me, and he mentored me in the beginning, and now we're like best friends. So all of that is thanks to the power of community from Watch Trading Academy. And it's just been, I'm still trying to catch up to how much everything has changed in my world, thanks to having joined the community and what that has done to us in terms of having that extra money on the side where we can pretty much have the freedom to do whatever we want. And that comes from somebody that, like, I was already, you know, I was already doing well before, but now with this, with all of this, we're now able to like open up the horizons to so many more things as it relates to wealth.
And it's only the beginning. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You know, like you
No,
guys
it's really
haven't.
exciting.
I know this sounds
It's exciting,
like I'm not trying to shit on where you've gotten, but this is nothing like in this game. Like, this is very early stage. I know people watching here might be like, well, that's not nice. You're talking about like $100,000. All these guys.
It's real.
I know the thing about money, if you want to really like make a lot of it, is you have to remove what it means to you. That's how you make a lot of money in life. You stop thinking, well, $100,000 is a lot to me, right? Like, you start thinking, what can this industry do for me? Well, I know jewelers who are making $5 million a month.
Yeah.
That's what this industry can do. So how insignificant am I for making $100K a year? Get it? Like so that's like,
totally.
So if you look at it from that scale, then you can say, well, $100K is shit, you know, because there's 50 million to go after. So like, I'm definitely like a fly on the wall, you know?
Yeah.
But if you start looking at it as $100,000 for me is like, wow, you know, I got a nicer house. Then you start to forget the capacity of how far you can go. You know, and you go, well, to me it's great. So I'll be happy with 150 next year. You know, that's an extra like $50,000. It pays for my nanny. It pays for this. You know, I'm like happy. But if you start thinking about it from like what is possible, not what is possible for me, what is possible, and how far can my skill take me in this trade, then you start aiming for these much larger goals. And I always say 100K is just the framework for acceptance that watches work. Then 500K is the threshold at the highest level of what a person without a store, without anything, without an institution can do from home. Right? So until you've hit like 40K a month, you're technically not even like a great watch trader. It's like, that's crazy, right? It's like, to think about that.
Can I add to that for a second?
Yeah,
Can I add to what you're saying? Because I remember like looking up the mountain, so to speak, is like, I joined with, I'm sure you know, obviously Lucas Wilson, Andre Mercier, all them, and I would look up the mountain at them. I would look up the mountain like, fuck, dude, like, how are they doing that much a month? You know what I mean? But now, like, sitting here and then sending you all my spreadsheets with, like, to verify the numbers, you texted me, you were like, hey, congrats on the beginning of this. And that was kind of like exactly what you just said, that, whoa, like, it's the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, we're just starting here.
They didn't listen to me either, because I told them, I said, when they were at 250, I told those guys, these are, for those of you that don't know, they're some of our 500K club students, and they told me, they got to 250 and they said, what's the biggest piece of advice you can give me, PJ? I said, start getting into cars or art and some of these other stuff like handbags. And they're like, okay, all right. And they ignored that.
Yeah.
Then they get to 500K and they come back here and we're doing an interview. And they're like, why do I feel capped? I was like, why did I tell you at 250? And so he told me to get into these other things. And I said, yeah, so you have to become an institution because that's the next phase up. Like, there's a cap to what, how many deals you can make and everything. Now, unless you're making 500K, then don't worry about that cap. But, you know, as you're getting there, if you want to get to $1 million a month, you're going to have to start thinking, you know, like in different ways. You can't just be like, I'm just going to multiply this. At some point, you're like, well, how many watches can you trade? Like, can you really do 200 from home? You know, like you
Yeah.
might have a store, and at that point you need security,
Totally.
and you need to have a lot of capital constantly going in. But if you're limited on capital, then you have to become an institution. So there's stages in which you prep for the next realm. So like when we say to people, you need to take part 2, you need to take part 3, and they're like, well, I don't have AP money. I don't have money to buy scarcity watches and hold them. But I tell them, I'm like, it's not about you take a training and you immediately use it. You take the training so it trains your mind, and then you take 6 months while you're doing what you're already doing to see the progress.
Absolutely.
And as you transition into that, it's not scary anymore because it takes time to adapt something.
You've already been preparing.
Yeah,
a
like
little
it's
bit.
like, I heard about watches. You're not like, I heard about watches, I'm gonna do it right now and I'm gonna make one.
Yeah.
Right? There's a time where you
Totally.
go, I heard about this, I've studied it, now I need a month or 2 to get my brain around it,
Yep.
like analyze thing, I'm afraid, should I not, and then you buy your first watch, right?
Yeah.
So if we can narrow that time down from idea to execution for people, then especially when they bought in, they already made something of it, then you have to prepare for the next realm much faster. 100 to 250, it's accelerated growth. 250 to 5, also super accelerated. But at 250, if you don't start working on the other pillars of wealth transfer, then you're going to get stuck and capped where you're like, I'm making money, like 500 grand. I mean, we take that for granted too because we're in this business and we go, like we really take money for granted in this business. Like you don't realize this till you get there.
Yep.
But that's when like someone's like, the plumber's going to cost you $1,000 and you're like, why do I care? Right? Like, and then you have to look back at your old days when you were poor and you're like, wait, why did I just pay $1,000?
Yeah. I would
Like,
never have done this. I would have fixed it myself. Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why do you charge me $1,000? Sometimes I go back to my old bills and I'm like, wait, we paid like $6 grand for this restaurant. Like, what was $6 grand? Like, did anybody see the bill? And it's like,
Yeah.
Who cares?
that wasn't even our bill. Like,
Yeah.
why did I pay this?
That's funny.
You forget that.
The momentum that you also get as you grow, you realize that as you get through the next levels, like after 100K and you get to that level, you also feel like in a way you're working a little bit less than you did when you first started.
100%.
Because, I mean, the goal is for you to eventually just, I mean, I know a lot of our 500K members, I remember Andre was saying how 22% of his entire spreadsheet is stuff that he stocks. The other 80% is him just answering text messages.
Yeah, I do the same
And
thing.
that's insane. Like to be able to go from, from not knowing anything about like what a watch, like what an automatic movement is, to then making $5 grand with a text message. That's the thing that is just so crazy.
I haven't bought a watch in like 6
Yeah,
months.
I know.
I mean,
It's
like I
insane.
haven't actually
Oh,
like
that's
gone out there and
Yeah.
been like, I want that.
Yeah.
Who owns that watch? Let
Yeah.
me call them and make him an offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like someone texting me saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's this Patek. Like,
Yeah.
what do you pay?" I'm like, "This." Oh, yeah, I think I could do that. Here's label.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
And then before it's even here, it's like tick 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 tick. Hey, I have this for like $7 grand more.
Yeah.
Do you
I mean,
want
where-
it? Oh
where
my
else
gosh,
can
a
you-
great deal. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
else can
actually,
you do
let me
that?
give you a new label. Send it to that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
just
I
drop
didn't
it
see
in.
the
Yep.
watch.
Yeah.
Like, have a good day.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the nice part you said about like kind of studying the course and getting ahead of yourself
Yeah,
a
you
little
have
bit,
to,
like
yeah.
front loading it. Because I did that with part 3, even though I didn't have the money for NAP. And it's funny today after this, I'm gonna go pick up my brick at the Venice,
nice.
and you know what I mean. But it was like I didn't feel afraid though, because like I got offered it to me, and I just kind of knew from like already looking into it, like, hey, I know like roughly where I can get this at. And then obviously you have some friends that you can call up to at that point. That's something that I guess people discount too, is like the friends you make along the way of like, you said a lot of people do this with cars, or Mike Sandback with the RMs and stuff. Like, hey, what would you pay for this? Cool, that's my new risk. Like,
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you believe that guy will actually pay you, of course.
Yeah,
but like,
exactly.
I believe that the one dude would pay me, so I was like, all right, cool, I'll buy it at this.
Exactly.
Risk a
So-
grand,
so
like I'm
your
okay.
risk tolerance, goes up. Your understanding of things go up, right?
Yep.
Like someone who maybe had never bought cars in their life, would come in this place and be like, dude, that's crazy that you have so much money in cars.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
someone who's in the business would be like, these are the most liquid, like if you really want it out, you could have a $25 million check in one day. And
Yeah.
it'd be, he'd like move to another country. So
Yeah.
they don't understand that because they're
Yeah.
just like, this is a car to them. They don't understand what is a liquid car, what is not. Is there a market for this?
Yep.
Who's buying? Who's paying? Like, do we know
Yep.
people buying? Like, do I have to go to a dealer? Like that's how they think, right? But when
Yeah.
you're in a trade, you start to learn all the ins and outs, and the comfort you get with the asset class is what constantly then pushes
Yes,
the whole,
100%.
fast.
There is so much to say about the education you get collaterally from just being part of the whole aspect of deal flow, of just getting as many trades as done and just learning and getting the connections and getting the experience from just going out there and getting your feet wet. That's where you learn so much more as well. And the more you do it, the
brought up
better.
deal flow, which is really interesting because that's the whole core of like FTC and what we teach now.
Yeah.
What is your piece of advice for people that are currently looking at you guys saying, well, now they're the testimonial, just like Aspo. What is your advice for people to as
Don't-
far as if they're new to WTA.
Yeah, don't fear and just do.
What are you, Yoda?
That's it. Don't fear, just do.
Oh yeah.
That's honestly the best advice I can give you. Like, you're gonna have a lot of objections. You're gonna have a lot of self doubts. You're gonna have a lot of things in your mind saying, no, this is not for me. But the whole idea is to just go through the education, believe in yourself, and understand that if you follow the concept and you take a grasp of the WTA community or the ECH community, and you just let yourself go with the flow, as long as you don't fear buying a watch, fear selling a watch, and just go through a couple of times, proof of concept, that's it. You just have to push through that wall, and I think that's the hardest part. Once you do it, you just rinse and repeat.
Well, you heard it. 2 new 100K Club members joined Watch Trading Academy's high dollar earners. 100K Club members, Bo and Ruben. Thank you so much
Thank you so
for
much.
joining us
Appreciate
here
it.
and
Thank
sharing some of your wisdom and success with some of our members. And again, as I always say, who will be next? Will it be you, or will someone else be living your dream? I'll catch you next time for Watch Trading Academy.